안녕하세요. 한국어 배치의 이한입니다. Since the last little story time video that I made seemed to resonate with the community pretty well, I figured I should make a few more. So today I want to talk about something that's happened to me a bunch of times while I've been learning Korean and speculate a little bit about what I think it is and what it means. Specifically, the thing I want to talk about today is how there have been a bunch of times where I have been able to perfectly use grammar and vocabulary words that I have never studied, things I have never learned. Yes, that is a true story. Things I have not once studied or seen in a textbook just came out. For any of you watching this, if you're at a level of Korean or any foreign language where you're able to have conversations without too much effort about, a wide variety of basic topics, I would bet you have a similar experience. Okay, so story time. So I met up with somebody here in Busan who was looking for a translator to help with this app project that they were working on. I had done translation work here in Korea before, so I figured, whatever, I'll go to the meetup, I'll give it a shot. This person reached out to me through this app that we have here in Korea that's kind of like Upwork, where you can find professionals for specific jobs. So they were aware of my background and things that I'd done. But at this time, I was really just starting my business life here in Korea. I spoke Korean well enough at this time to get my residency visa and set up, a business and get my life situated here. But, there were still things that I couldn't do very well. And one of those things was job interviews. I'm really good at job interviews in Korean, but I was always worried that I wasn't able to accurately represent my skills and my personality and intelligence when doing the same thing in Korean. That kind of stuff always freaked me out before I went into the conversations. So anyway, I went to the meeting, we start chatting, general pleasantries. Then we talk about my views on language learning and how I approach translation. And then something wild happened. Some grammar point that I had never used, never studied, just came out. Just popped right out of my mouth. I had kind of gone into this flow state with regards to talking. I was totally focused on the conversation. I had this instinctual feeling that this was the right thing to say, and I just said it. I vividly remember exactly what the grammar point was that I said. I said, 제가 말씀드렸듯이, which was something I had never learned, never studied, never asked anyone about, nothing. Only after I had just, said what I said, did I get that creeping dread just wash over me like a wave. What did I just say? But the interviewer did not even flinch. They just continued the conversation like nothing had happened, because nothing had happened. What I said was totally natural, and the only person who knew I was a complete imposter was me. So this is just one case. I've got a bunch of stories like this, little short stories where I remember using some word or some grammar point that I've never really knowingly interacted with before. And so I want to throw out to you all what exactly I think is going on here. You see, I was very careful, intentionally careful with my words at the beginning of this video. I said I had never studied and never learned these grammar points and vocabulary words. And that is true. I never sought them out. I never looked them up in a textbook or ran across them in an educational context. I didn't even consciously know that they existed. But these are significant moments, visceral experiences that I think can be explained by Dr. Krashen's ideas about second language acquisition that have become wildly popular in the online language learning culture. These are those kind of anecdotal, firsthand experiences that made me just, nod along while I'm reading Dr. Krashen's work. You see, there is a big difference between learning language and acquiring language. Although for convenience sake, in English and Korean as well, when we talk about this, we always say language learning, but we have more accurate vocabulary than that for what we're talking about here. In an academic sense, these ideas are different. Learning, in the context of Krashen's ideas, leads to an ability to monitor language, which basically means an ability to edit language that has already been produced. To make this a bit more practical, if you've ever seen someone who's really studied a foreign language in an academic context, a lot of them have an ability to, look at documents and analyze and, figure out what they mean, maybe even fix them, but don't always have an ability to actually write a document or speak the language out loud. I think this could explain why I wasn't even aware that these grammar points existed, why they weren't even on my radar. I hadn't studied them. If I had run across this on a piece of paper or had a document where I needed to edit it in, I likely wouldn't have been able to. What I had done was acquire this grammar. I had heard it enough times and seen it enough times to the point where my brain knew where it fit inside of a Korean conversation. Ian didn't seem to know yet though. Acquired language, which comes from getting tons and tons of comprehensible input, meaning messages you can understand, leads to an ability to produce language. Experiences like this kind of make me think about how much English I know, but don't know that I know. Anyway, this keeps happening to me. I've done my best to try to consciously catalog all of these moments as they happen so I can, ride that high for as long as possible. But it just feels really great. It makes it feel really worthwhile to keep having these native speaker moments. And I think remembering them makes them all that much more valuable. So I want to pass the ball to you. Has this ever happened to you before, where you just blurted something out in your target language, realized that you had no idea what you just said, and the native speaker doesn't even flinch? It just connected with them perfectly? Let me know in the comments. I would love to start a conversation around this because I think these are the real motivational moments. So that's all for this one. I hope this story can give you at least a little motivation to keep learning Korean this week. Before I go, I just wanted to remind all of you that I sent out a free Hanja Pitchy starter ebook to everybody on the Korean Patch mailing list as a Lunar New Year present. If you'd like a copy of this ebook, you can head over to our website at koreanpatch.co, sign up for the mailing list, and you should get it right to your email inbox for free. If you enjoy the ebook or get anything out of it, please send me an email or leave a comment on one of my YouTube videos letting me know what you think. I want to keep making good stuff that keeps people interested in Korean and reminds them that it is possible to learn this language. Well, acquire. You know what I mean. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.